All right, let's talk comparative politics. If you're prepping for your exam, there are a couple of core theories you've absolutely got to know inside and out. We're going to break them down right now.
So here's the big question, right? How on earth do you compare two political systems that seem totally different, like the US and Germany? It feels like comparing apples and oranges. Well, that's what this is all about. And we're going to look at two really powerful models that give you the tools to do exactly that.
Okay, first up, Easton's system theory. Think of it like a political machine. It's a foundational model that sees politics as this continuous, predictable cycle, not just a bunch of random events. So, what does that actually mean? At its core, it's a really simple but powerful idea. The system takes in inputs, demands and support from the public, and processes them to create outputs, which are policies and laws. And then those outputs circle back and create feedback. And here's what that looks like. It's a clean, simple flow. You've got your input, that's the people demanding things. That goes into the system. Think of that as the government, the black box where decisions get made. What comes out the other side is the output, the new law or policy. And then, crucially, there's the feedback loop, which is how society reacts. And that reaction, well, that becomes a brand new input, starting the whole cycle over again.
Okay, let's make this concrete with an example. Imagine a group of activists is demanding a huge 55% cut in CO2 emissions. That's the input. It goes into the system. The government debates it, there's back and forth, and so on. The output? The government promises a 42% reduction. Now what happens next? Feedback. If the public is thrilled, great. But if they're angry and say that's not enough, well, that negative feedback creates a brand new, even stronger input, and the whole process has to start again.
Now, here's a really crucial piece of the puzzle. This whole system doesn't just happen in a vacuum, right? Its success totally depends on what Easton called the national community. Basically, if you have a society where most people share similar goals and ideas, they're way more likely to just accept the system's outputs. And this is a perfect illustration of that. Take a look at Japan. It's a pretty homogenous society, which means they tend to have more shared goals. And what's the result? Policy adherence is generally higher. Now, compare that to Nigeria, a country with major ethnic and religious divides. With so many different goals, just building national unity can be a struggle, which makes getting everyone to accept a single policy, well, that's a much bigger challenge. Okay, this is a huge tip for your exam, so listen up. To really compare political systems, you have to look past the titles. I mean, sure, the US has a president and Germany has a president, but do they do the same thing? Not even close. Their actual powers, their functions are completely different. The key is to compare what political players actually do, not just what their job title is. So how do you do that? How do you compare what they actually do? Well, you look at these process functions inside the system box. Things like interest articulation, that's just people expressing what they want. Then there's interest aggregation, combining all those demands into actual policy proposals. Then you have policymaking, implementation, and adjudication. The thing is, every political system on the planet does these 5 things, one way or another. This is your toolkit for comparing anyone to anyone.
All right, let's switch gears. We've talked about the political machine. Now let's look at the barrier model, which paints a very different picture. This one sees politics less like a smooth-running machine and more like a battlefield.
And this quote really gets to the heart of it. Power is relative and exists only when exercised. What does that mean? It means power isn't just something you sit on. It's something you use. In this model, if you want to make a change, you have to actively fight to push your idea past a series of roadblocks set up by people who like things just the way they are. Take a look at this. It might seem a little complicated, but this diagram basically shows the gauntlet that any new idea has to run. To become an actual, effective policy, an issue has to successfully get past 4 distinct barriers. Let's walk through them. Let's stick with a real-world example. Say, a proposal for gender quotas on company boards. First off, it hits barrier 1, community values. You have to convince the public this is even a good idea. Let's say you do. Now you're at barrier 2, procedures and institutions. Here, opponents can use all sorts of rules, like a filibuster, just to keep it from even being debated. Okay, you clear that hurdle. Now you're at barrier 3, the debate itself. Here, opponents will try to either kill the proposal outright or water it down, maybe arguing for lower quotas. And even if you win that fight and the law passes, you're still not done. You hit barrier 4, administrative interpretation, where the people in charge of putting the law into practice can interpret it in a way that just makes it, well, totally ineffective. It really is a battle every step of the way. So there you have it, the two big theories you need to know. If you really want to master these concepts and be ready for your exam, the next step is to actually practice. You can find the full summary and a bunch of practice tests over at gradeguru.nl. All right, so let's do a super quick recap for your exam. Key takeaway number 1, Easton's system theory. Think flow. Inputs, system, outputs. Feedback, it's a continuous cycle. Key takeaway number 2, the barrier model. Think conflict. It's a battle where new ideas have to overcome 4 specific barriers to become law. Flow versus conflict. Got it? And I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Think about your own country. Which model do you think does a better job of explaining how things really get done? Is politics where you live more like a predictable machine, or is it a constant knockdown, drag-out fight? Seriously, thinking about that is the best way to make these theories stick in your head for the exam.